sublime, to the ridiculous, to the downright scary. These sea monsters are the stuff of legend from a world most people only experience in their dreams or nightmares. We're headed below the crashing waves and into some of the clearest crystal waters of Western Australia, with a guide whose middle name spells adventure. Stan, the man who loves sharks, Waterman. From Ningaloo Reef to Kangaroo Island, Stan leads hardy men and gutsy maidens, ready to dip their toes in the Antipodean Ocean, ready to meet the strange, awesome beasts of Down Under, way down under. To landlubbers, divers look to be a strange breed of human beings. Almost as strange, perhaps, as the myriad weird creatures they meet in the dark blue depths. Of course, once bitten by this underwater bug, there's no holding them back. Stan Waterman has been diving since he was a teenager, and for almost half a century he's been filming sharks in oceans right around the globe. With 5 Emmys, his credits stretch from documentaries to feature films, including The Deep. There's not much that Stan Waterman doesn't know about sharks. And even today, at 80 years young, Stan is still hard at work, inspiring young divers and introducing them to the wonders of his subsea world.
And as you get older, of course, every tomorrow becomes more precious. And if you're doing something, as I've been doing for almost 50 years now, it is one of the few vocations that I know of that sustains the excitement and expectation and enables you to look forward to each tomorrow with hope and with a lot of pleasure too.
First stop is at Exmouth, Western Australia, and Ningaloo Reef, home to a fabled beast like no other.
Whale shark, the biggest fish in any of the oceans of the world, and this is where you come to find them in the greatest numbers. This is Exmouth, on the northwestern coast of Australia, off the Ningaloo Reef, and the Ningaloo Reef also one of the finest, most exciting places to dive, and I've been here before, came back to find it again as I remembered it.
What draws divers to Ningaloo are the whale sharks that come to feed off coral spawn. Coral itself is a living microorganism, and every autumn is breeding season, when multitudes of tiny spawn fill the water in a fairy tale profusion.
The whale sharks come to feed on the spawn from the corals that come around from the Gulf of Exmouth. And because this is the narrowest continental shelf in Australia, they're very close to shore. We're within sight of shore all the time. We use a spotter plane. They're not easy to see from ocean level, but from above, you spot them like a great submarine coming through the clouds of krill that they feed on. The boat is, of course, connected with the plane by radio, and so we are steered onto the great animals. Everybody's ready as we come into position, tension mounting. It's very exciting, and lined up on the duckboard, ready to go. The starter at the right time says go, 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 and the adrenaline flows, and over you go into the water. And then as your eyes adjust, if you've been launched in just the right place, this shadow form that resolves itself into a submarine-sized animal, the whale shark, sometimes 40 feet long, comes into view. And for any diver who has done everything else, this is the ultimate experience.
A true shark, unrelated to whales in anything but size, the whale shark is the long-haul jumbo jet of the marine world. One was tracked by satellite, meandering across 14,000 miles of ocean in just over 3 years. But every year, large numbers turn up for the annual coral spawn feast off Western Australia. But now, Stan and friends are running into a little problem.
All we needed, a jellyfish infestation, and all up there where we're snorkeling too. I think it's inevitable you're going to get something in the face there chasing those animals. And they're stingers too.
Australian jellyfish have a particularly nasty reputation, and you ignore them at your peril. They follow in the mould of most Aussie wildlife, dangerous, lots of them, and lurking. Yet their rare simplicity and beauty are quite wonderful. As long as you keep your distance. But soon the divers can get back on the track of their gentle underwater giant. Of hundreds of different shark species, a mere 30 or so are tempted by human flesh, and the whale shark, thankfully, is not one of them. Although there is a story that a cameraman once disappeared when he got too close, and the hapless monster sucked him in. The camera killed the shark killed the cameraman. Truth or fiction, it's not a pretty thought. But stories like that couldn't deter these divers from getting up close and personal.
What a beauty and what a patient animal. I think maybe he knew that we deserved some cooperation. And, the maneuverability that these pros have on the boats that bring us out here to set us right in front of them so you have that great submarine coming at you every time is wonderful, wonderful. Here comes a bunch up now. How was it, gents?
He had a big mouth, and I got real close to it.
That's worth it.
Yes, and I think she even winked at me, but I'm not quite sure about that. But it was fun.
Man, let me tell you, if I didn't get any good shots, I may as well just commit suicide because the light's banging in so perfectly on the shark. Yeah. She's finally coming right up in on the surface, so if I didn't get anything then I should just give up.
It was incredible because the shark got used to Mick, which was riding with him for hours, and Mick turned and moved away from the shark. So the shark was like thinking, oh, where is Mick going? And he turned around and he followed Mick and he went right at us.
Yeah, the shark followed me around.
Took a liking to you.
Absolutely, it was brilliant. Really, really good. Another good day of whale sharking.
The beauty of the Ningaloo Reef and its fabulously rich marine life are undisputed. But the problem is that it's no longer a well-kept secret. With the best will in the world, even ecotourism brings its own problems. As people flock to savour this paradise, development is unavoidable, and unchecked, pollution can play havoc with the coral reefs. Coral is the foundation stone of Ningaloo's delicate web of life. Without kid-glove treatment, this marine haven could quickly turn into an underwater desert. If one single thread of this living tapestry were pulled, the remainder of this marine heritage that took hundreds of thousands of years to mature would unravel before our very eyes. Gone will be the colourful shoals that dance in the blue sunlight. Gone will be the turtles that have fought to survive here forever. To sacrifice nature's irreplaceable marine handiwork on the altar of development is something we'll all live to regret. Now we're on the last leg of a trek to Kangaroo Island in South Australia. But it's not a marsupial that Stan's party is hoping to find here. Jim Thistleton reckons they might see something a little less common.
Just recently we did a a research trip with a very prominent marine biologist. And between here and our normal diving area, we collected 300 specimens and sent to the museum.
Come on.
Over 50 unknown to science. They've come back to us and said 50 of them they know nothing about.
How terrific.
Just like the coral beds of Ningaloo, this old pier at Kangaroo Island has evolved into a unique undersea community of hundreds of different species. Well worth exploring. Between the barnacle-encrusted pilings, a cuttlefish, like a medieval knight on horseback, takes the diver's presence in its stride. It's not hard to see where some Hollywood horror movies get their inspiration. But this is by no means the oddest find in this oceanic glory hole. Behind the piers, something very special is lurking.
I first saw a leafy sea dragon in late 1991 and was amazed what this creature was and didn't know if it was a fish or a plant or some sort of an animal. It was just so unusual. I did a little bit of research and realised that it had been found initially by some very early marine biologists. In the 1860s it was first noted in these waters. And the interesting thing about the leafy sea dragon is that it's endemic to southern Australian waters, not found anywhere else in the world. And he's of the family of the seahorses. And generally they're all recognised because they have a fused jaw. So although they've got a long nose, he can't open his mouth, he sucks his food in. We advise people not to touch them because it upsets them. I find that various fish, I can put my hand out and they'll come and lay on your hand and are quite comfortable. At different times we might find one with a parasite attached to him and we'll carefully remove the parasite and the fish never struggles. He doesn't seem to worry. He quite understands what we're doing. The research that we've done on our own is that over a stretch of coastline we are finding maybe 2 or 3 per kilometre.
With that sort of number, the leafy sea dragons are obviously endangered. But Jim Thistleton, who even knows the individual dragons by name, is looking out for their interests. So hopefully the odds are in favour of survival. At Port Lincoln, Stan's team steps back in time, embarking on an ancient historic sailing vessel, the Fabled.
Imagine that ship for 80 years has been plying this coast here and supplying these islands to the outbackers, and still going.
There's nothing to match the adventure of an old sailing ship beating its way through the waves. With a full crew, the Fabled can still raise its sails and harness the power of the wind. But today, for Stan Waterman, it will be a slightly tamer voyage. The team is now heading out for an encounter that no one will ever forget. They'll use these cages to look for Carcharodon carcharias, the great white shark, Jaws himself. The Fabled's crew prepares the bait. Tonight, sushi is on the menu, and now it's only a matter of waiting. Great white sharks have been at the very pinnacle of the ocean food chain for hundreds of millions of years, one of Mother Nature's greatest success stories. A predator pure and simple, a killing machine honed to perfection over eons, with an unsurpassed underwater ability to hunt down and devour most anything its heart desires.
Sharks eat things as big as us every day. These big sharks, of course, are feeders on meat eaters. They're certainly not vegetarians. And when we enter their world, we can be another part of the food chain. We have to accept that if we go into the sea unprotected, we might get bitten.
And Rodney Fox knows that only too well.
It was during the South Australian Spearfishing Championships in 1963. I was the reigning champion at the time, and I was in about 45, 50 feet of water, and I dived down holding my breath, and as I swam along I saw the fish I needed. It would help me win the competition, and as I glided in closer and closer and closer, the gun in my hand, my arm out giving me stability and my feet behind me, I was just squeezing the trigger, and I knew I had that fish. And all of a sudden this huge thump and crash hit me in the chest, held me through the water, knocked the mask off my face, the gun out of my hand, and I was swimming, going faster than I'd ever swam before. First of all, I thought it would have to be a train or a submarine. It was so big and it hit me so hard. And then I realized it had to be a shark. And I have a memory that stays with me of the water being blood red, my blood, and this great big head with its mouth wide open and those big white teeth coming straight at me. This is why I'm glad I wasn't bitten on the bottom. So there you can see where the shark bit me. All the ribs were broken all the way through. Your teeth marks are up here.
But that horrific attack changed Rodney Fox's life. He bears no grudges. Instead, with shark-proof cages and the Fairley, he makes it his mission to help people better appreciate the shark's behavior and dispel a lot of myths.
Shark attacks around the world seem to create such incredible media attention. People feel frightened and vulnerable about shark attacks. And probably you get people who want to learn more about sharks, and particularly the biggest predator of all, the great white shark. So we get people on our trips who want to learn more and are keen to find out about this shark that creates so much hysteria amongst people.
It looks dramatic, but the shark's not so much after the divers inside the cage as its dinner that's dangling in the water. People assume that sharks are bloodthirsty killers that routinely prey on human flesh, but in reality that's a long way from the truth.
It worries me that the media are so strong with their condemnation and their listening to people who fear the shark and not the ones who understand that when we enter the seas, we're entering their world. We have to learn to live with the shark, not just kill them from fear. And every time we get a shark attack, it seems like the media revert a lot of people back who don't want to know about it, who don't care. They want to run their own lives. They don't want to understand that sharks eat things as big as us every day, dolphins and seals and stingrays, so they're always going to make a mistake.
These divers know they shouldn't take chances. Normally, divers from the Fairley are not allowed out of the cage, but for someone with Stan Waterman's experience, there's a bit of leeway. And with a living, breathing stealth bomber on hand, it's hard to resist the temptation. Before they get out of the cage, the divers will check and double-check for danger. Visibility, however, is poor, and even with years of experience, there are things that can't be predicted.
The word shark excites people. It brings on a tingling excitement of fear. the fear you get when you bungee jump, when you jump out of an aeroplane, when you go whitewater rafting. And I related it back to the work we'd been doing with sharks for many years, and found that when you take people down in the cages and show them face to face the great white shark, not only do they get an adrenaline rush and love the experience, and most come back again, but they learn about the shark. And they also realise that it has a place in the world, and that excitement and fear they actually pass on to many different people around the world.
So the great suspense, of course, is because there's been no communication with the chaps at the bottom, so we don't know what they've seen. And if Big Boy has been around there, they're going to yell as soon as they break surface. So everybody's waiting with suspense for this one.
Wow. Is that good?
Dynamite.
What sharks did you guys get up here?
Oh, you're going to tell us stories now. You didn't see any sharks, did you?
2 or maybe 3.
3?
Maybe definitely 2.
Yeah, definitely 2.
Well, maybe you could tell us a little bit about what was. We've been
Too bad you didn't have any action down there.
Oh, wow. That was so cool.
Had a great time. Big sharks coming right up. Hit the cage. Going after the bait, taking the bait right in front of us. It's just too rough to shoot very well. Just point and hope I clicked with it pointing at the shark. There's no aiming to it at all.
You actually saw that Big Boy coming by?
Unbelievable.
Looked like he was going to crash your cage.
Nose to nose.
Yep, you bet.
Nose to nose.
You deserve it.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
But all good things must come to an end. The Fairlie weighs anchor and sets a course back to Port Lincoln. As they leave the waters of the North Neptune Islands in their wake, everyone involved feels well satisfied. Stan Waterman's divers will dine out on their stories for months to come, and they'll have their memories of great white sharks and their whale shark cousins to keep forever. Most people look out across an ocean and see only a dazzling reflection of the clouds and sky. Stan Waterman knows different. This, after all, is Waterman's world.
Snow used to spit in his mask all the time, and his mask always smelled like escargot and garlic.
Garlic.
That's right.
And good wine.
Yeah, fine wine.
Fine wine.
But there's nothing like it. I've tried cigarette, tobacco, toothpaste, and everything, but good virulent spit will do it every time.
I find that after spitting in a mask for a few dives, you have some amazing funk, some penicillin type stuff growing in the corners of your mask.
You do?
No, others do. I don't spit in my mask. I use a commercial product, probably created by Tahitian women who sit around a barrel spitting in it.